I'm jumping on here today to get warmed up for our Going Beyond the Lens free art share. Our conversation this month is going to be nudity. And as you can imagine, super excited personally for this one since I've just been socialized as women.
Yeah. I have to turn my camera around. We'll make it work.
Yeah. How are you?
Good morning. I'm pretty good. I had some wild dreams last night, so I was just like feeling slow and like sleepy this morning. So I feel like I was running around so much in my dreams.
I feel that. It's so funny when you go to sleep and you wake up and you're like, did I even sleep? Because it feels like I just went to like my other life and now I'm tired from that also.
Yeah. I woke up, there was like a thunderstorm, a rainstorm last night, and I woke up because the rain was like pouring so loudly. So that happened too, but we have rain.
Oh my gosh. I miss when it was like warm enough that when it rains like that, where it just soaks you. Like I love going outside in the rain and just like standing around naked or like stretching in the rain and just like feeling yourself progressively getting more soaked.
Yes, it's so great. I love it even more now that I have no hair, because when I had hair, that was like the most annoying, terrible thing ever when I had like wet hair would like stick to me. But like, it's so great now because I have no hair and it's like the best.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. I feel like that's such a great entry point for our topic about nudity, because the question that I've been like really stuck on, because I've been hashing this out, talking to other friends, like, getting excited for the event. And everyone's like, well, how do we determine between if something is intended to be a sexual version of nudity or if it's intended to be a non-sexual version of nudity? And what happens when, the viewer sees it, but it wasn't intended? And there's sort of like all of these nuances around that. And I know for you and I, just the act of being naked, like, isn't really a thing that's like sexual. It's just a thing about having a body and like being a person. Like it feels very like normal and neutral, and it doesn't really have that kind of connotation. But something else, like if I were to be like naked out in a rainstorm and like feeling that, like that has more of a sexual connotation for me personally, because it's like, you're feeling the earth under your feet and you're feeling the dirt, and it's like all of these sensual inputs where I feel like I am sort of like consensually partnering in an experience with nature. And it's like that photo might not look like masturbatory at all, and yet like that's what the experience is, compared to like some of the other things when I'm like naked and like rolling around with other models. Like that just is like puppy playfulness. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it has the same connotation. So I'm curious, like what are your associations and connotations, and like how do you respond to that question when you have been discussing with friends or thinking about it?
I would say the conversation is different with friends and like people that I know, and especially if it's like a one-on-one conversation. When it's a conversation like with someone I don't really know and it's online, I tend to be a lot more like standoffish, because I've been sexualized and objectified like so much, having my nude body on the internet, by just like random people that I don't know, and being on the asexual spectrum, that's like extremely uncomfortable and like the last thing that I want. But in terms of like people that I'm closer to, that I'm more willing to like talk about like maybe a little bit more sexual things, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of maybe like my trauma is working against me, and like I just don't like just if it involves me, don't think of it sexually unless I literally like tell you like, hey, let's do things. Like, but I'm like curious and learning more about myself and the things that I like to do. And nudity is a big part of like my personal like pleasure practice. But I don't necessarily like, so sometimes I do want that to come through in like images and video, like me being like enjoying my body and like enjoying where I am and in nature and things like that. But I don't ever want someone like randomly to be like, oh, so you must be like doing something sexual. No, I'm just being in my body. Like I like to be naked. So I kind of have maybe some hangups around like really pushing back against being seen as sexual because I've had like trauma in that realm. So it's kind of like a tender subject for me.
Totally.
So I feel like, yeah, like there needs to be a conversation around like consent to sexualize.
Yeah, I was talking with our friend Marcus the other day about something like that, like how in the right context, like the request to be fetishized and the request to be sexualized is something that like it does feel really good when we're able to control the parameters around which and have autonomy in what it looks like when we're sexual, what it means to be sexual, which a lot of times when you are socialized as a feminine person, lol, hi, I knew you were here.
Hi, Marcus.
Right, it's like we are oftentimes shamed growing up for like attracting attention and being like, you know, I remember like phrases like, because I was always not wanting to wear underwear, I was always getting naked, like in places, like I would get naked in the closet and come out and be like, stop, this is how I am now, stop trying to put clothes on me. And right, and then like the response to that was that I was endangering myself and that even the male people in my family could potentially be turned against me and be a source of violence if I were to expose myself in this way. And there's so many, like, whether you get that message on like a big fat like victim blaming in your face and your family like that, or whether it's like something that subtly leaches into your consciousness through culture, it's really difficult to get to a place where we're like what does it mean to be sexual in a way that is safe? Like, what does it mean to exist and to allow a camera even into or another person into that space? And what is the context around that? And like, what sort of social agreements do we need to have? And I think that like, as someone who's discovered, like you being on the asexual spectrum, like I didn't even really discover that until a couple like years, maybe even like, I want to say like since the start of quarantine. And all of a sudden there's like all of this anger because I see the ways in which past relationships were wildly coercive and where I would literally using my sexual attraction as a means of coping with abandonment because I was like, oh, the only way to make someone stay and believe that I have value in their life in a way that will earn loyalty is to give full access to my body. So I'm not allowed to have a boundary around this thing or it means I'll be left. And it was like, holy fuck, I started to see that sort of like grasping feeling in my work as well, because I was allowing things to be sexualized that were not by just not providing the right context, knowing that like, okay, being in a feminized body, they're going to see me positioned in this way as a sexual thing if I just don't say anything about it and sort of profiting off of that. And there's so many ways in which now I'm rethinking like what context do I want to have my sexuality operate in, which is why I started like the MB Eros group, which is Embodied Erotics, and Marcus is in that as well, and Lydia and a few other people like Elsa Marie Keefe and Rowan Rain and a few other beings, where we're just really sort of like trying to figure out how can sexuality be reunited with spirituality and like you know, in a way that is embodied. So I'm really excited for our conversation and the art share on Saturday, because I'm like, I really want to know not just about people's work where they happen to be naked or where they are profiting off of that like implied sexuality because it's compulsive and it's everywhere, right? And we're told that, like, if you're not sexually attractive, that, like, you basically failed as a human being. Right? Like, what is that? Like, I can't be, like, funny and, like, cute and not hot? That's, like, not okay? Like, what is...
I don't get it.
So weird. Yeah, and the way that we, like, sort of buy acceptance or buy connection, you know, and loyalty in that way in relationships all the time. Like, even in, like, I was talking to, I think it was Cecilia about this a couple weeks ago, but it's like, when you know you're being hired for something, but if you clarify that you don't, like, that it's not sexual for you, that you know you're going to lose out on, like, half the income, or they might not hire you at all. Right? Like, weird things where it's like, oh, I have to participate in that game and this illusion just to get paid. Totally bananas. Like, you know, it's so weird. So yeah, I totally understand that desire to, like, hide sexuality. I think I did that for a lot of years, and then I was like, wait a second. If I'm just allowing people to project sexual things vaguely onto things that are not sexual for me, and I'm not making any content that is really sexual for me, then I'm not making a new narrative at all. I'm just participating in the same one that has failed me and, like, made me feel lousy for watching porn that didn't represent what I liked and, like, was just not inspiring, you know? Yeah. Like, I want to watch stuff that, like, inspires me to be more embodied, like you said, to be more, like, in love with just being a sensual being, you know, whether or not orgasm is involved, whether or not another person is involved, whether or not whatever. Yeah. So
yeah, this is a very, like, deep conversation that has, like, a whole lot of layers to it. I feel like we're, like, just barely scratching the surface.
Oh, it's like these were just, like, icebergs, and I'm like, each one of these things I want to, like, dig into and talk about so much more. And luckily, like, I really love how we've split up the events, actually, because getting the time to really, like, focus for several minutes on one piece of artwork, and to have the conversation visually or audibly if someone's reading a piece to us, compared to, like, then we come back for the conversation and we have the ability to, like, really hash out any extra, like, personal context, you know, and sort of, like, trade secrets that unlock the truth of each other's perspective. And I think that that's, like, my favorite relationship, because it's like we have the art share, then we sit with the information for a week. And we're like, okay, how did that feel? What am I remembering? And then, like, there's a couple of beautiful gems that you bring into the conversation that are like, oh. Yeah. I feel like we could talk about this forever, because I'm wondering also, like, how many people, because remember when we did, I think it was the erotic art event, but we started talking about ecosexuality, which is technically somewhere on the asexual spectrum, like maybe, like, up here somewhere. And several people were like, oh my God, that's so me. Like, I feel that all the time. And I'm wondering what's going to happen when we're able to share as a group again around the context of nudity. Like, how many people are actually, like, normal in the way that we think of, like, oh, the average compulsive cishet normative view? Like, how many people actually are, like, wounded by that? Because I have a feeling that it's going to be, like, most people. You know, even though we don't imagine the censorship to be something that is damaging, like, the fact that the only people that can get away with even mildly suggestive imagery on the internet are, like, skinny white people, like, it does affect people, especially the children that they're supposedly trying to protect by keeping all the queer and trans BIPOC bodies and, like, fat bodies off the internet. Yeah. Like, it's insane.
It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, like, I want to see more, like, we need more, like, disabled bodies being naked and sexual. Like, I love Ecstasy of a Cripple's work. I think of her work all the time. Like, literally makes operas, erotic operas. Like, what level are you on? You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, like, what the? One day we will get to meet. Like, I feel like we've missed each other several times every time I've tried to, like, go up to Vermont, and then the corona's being crazy. But
yeah,
vaccines, come to me, please. So I can go see my friends. I'm so ready. But until then, we get to see each other on the 20th. That's like, is that this weekend? That's this Saturday, right?
Yeah, it's this Saturday.
Oh, we actually got some really good questions. And I know we only have like 5 minutes left, but Johnny Freak said, I love to hear you both talk about consent to sexualize. We should all be talking about that because nudity is not inherently sexual, but society has made nudity sexual and it's upsetting. Yeah. Yes. Not to mention that there's so many like magnifiers of identity. Like the darker that you are, the more people fixate on you. The more that you fall into traditional beauty standards, the more people fixate on you. Like there are all these ways in which that attention can be even more, especially for like young bodies, and the way that like a lot of the beauty standards are so like pedophilic.
That's gross.
And like the idea of like you need to stay covered, otherwise like anybody that sexualizes you is fair game, which is like what, right? Like every creepy dude on the beach seems to believe they're like, well, you're out here, like what am I not supposed to look at? I'm like, yes, it's a beach. It's beautiful. There's a lot to look at. Dig in the sand. Not
just me.
Put your face in the sand. Like, I don't give a fuck. You could do 1,000 other things other than be like, it's just creepy. It's another thing to like, because this has happened to me too. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but like, I love the idea of consent to sexualize, and I personally use it as an opportunity to flirt. Like back when we got to do that in person.
The good old days.
Yeah, like the good old days, right? So like, I never drank, but sometimes I would go to bars. And it's always funny to be the sober person at the bar and you're like sipping your water. And I'm like, I love eye flirting. And it would always be like this splendid moment of, because eye flirting is not looking you up and down. That's fucking weird. Eye flirting is like you're looking into a person's soul and you're not being a bitch and blinking. You're like, giving a side smile, casual flirty stuff. And you wait until somebody breaks, right? It's like who blinks first? It's whoever comes over first. It's usually me. And it's like, hi, you're making me feel really embarrassed because you're so cute. And I can't stop looking at you. So like, if that's not okay with you, please tell me. And I'm going to literally move my ass to another part of the room because like, I don't want to be weird. Right. But like, if you think I'm cute, also, I would buy you a seltzer water. So like, what do you think? Like,
let's just have a chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like usually I feel like people miss opportunities by just taking, because the opportunity to ask is your opportunity to connect. Like that is the start of the conversation. You don't have to make something up and be like, oh, I like your shoes, or I thought about making out with you. You don't have to be weird, right? Like it literally can just wow, I think you're really cute. I don't want to be weird and put pressure on you if you don't feel that way. But, like I've been to, like on road trips, just like stumbled on some nudist places that were just like in the woods because nudists are awesome and we love nature. And I kid you not, at one point there was this community of people that like lived in this forest and they made a natural basin of water that's like a heated pool. And everybody would come and be naked. And it was just me and my girlfriend. So now I'm scared because like, it's like, is it okay to be out? I don't even know. Is it okay to be naked as two femme bodies, like around mostly men and that are like older, like lumberjack, living in the wilderness looking dudes? Do you know they were the sweetest fucking people and did not make us feel disgusting at all? Like literally when I mean to tell you that eye contact the whole time. They were like, oh, is there anything you need? Like, do you want a towel for when you get out of the water? Because I know y'all didn't expect to find this place. Like, here's where we have them. Like, we'll get out and just, like, go and come back another time if you guys want to have the space to yourselves because we live here. And we were like, oh, my God, no, like, please stay. And they helped us take photos. Like, they were being so sweet. They didn't interject. They didn't offer. And then I was like, hey, would you mind, like, helping us out? We ended up being friends. We hung out for the whole day. And it's like, you can, across generations, across cultural understanding, a couple of the people didn't even really speak English. So respectful. It didn't matter. Like, we didn't even need, like, even across that language barrier, they were like, we understand how to respect you. Because you also have a body, and wouldn't it be awkward if somebody did that to me and was just like at a genital? No, unless I asked you. Yes, it's weird. Like, I just, I love this conversation. I feel like there's so much more that we could say. But I'm wondering, because there's so many nudists and naturists that are like popping in. I love this. Nudes. Like, what a good name you have. Amazing. Maybe do you want to like close our conversation by sharing like something that you really appreciate about nudity, or like a way in which that's like influenced your work or your life, or like something you're excited about?
Sure. I guess I'll tell you a little tiny story.
Yes,
not really a story, kind of a story. So I currently live with my parents, which is amazing. Yes, I'm a 31-year-old adult that lives with my parents because they're really cool. Growing up, there has always been like nudity around my house. Like, my mom walks around like topless or naked sometimes. When I was a kid, like, I'd be in the bathroom with her. A whole family, me and my mom, my dad, and my sister would take like baths together when I was really young. But once I started getting to the age of school, my dad was like, I'm out of this. I don't want to be like, I don't want anyone to think that anything bad is happening. So I'm just going to like take myself out of this. But then once me and my sister like got to be like 18, like adults, like, she's only a year and a half younger than me, so it doesn't take very long. Like, as soon as I was 18, she was 18, like, not that long after. So we got, like, once we got older, we started to hang out nude again. And like, when I initially had my head shaved, like, my hair was down to like my elbow in 2019. And when I came home, I was like, I'm sick of my fucking hair. I want it off. Let's like shave it off. And I asked my mom to shave my head. I requested that we be outside and naked and shave my head, like shave all my hair off. So we did that. Me and my mom, and my sister was there. Like, she was nude too. She was in pictures for us. And there's been like, I guess maybe kind of a family tradition of like family haircuts. So like, we, including my dad, like, usually my dad gets his haircut first. We go in the kitchen, there's like a stool. My mom like shaves my dad's head. We're all naked because we don't want to get all that hair everywhere.
You're right.
So we're naked, we get haircuts, we hang out and chat, and then like after the haircut we go like rinse off in the shower, and it's just like we're just literally like, we're in our bodies, and it's not a big deal. We can be naked as a family, and it's like nothing weird or creepy. It's just, we exist in bodies, and we're just like together. So yeah, I just wanted to share that it's possible to have like non-sexual nudity and just like live a life, just normal life, being naked.
Just a normal ass life.
Yeah.
The other thing I would not recommend doing completely naked, like, this is why I have an apron, because you got to have the good airflow and also not get burned. If you're trying to cook chicken cutlets, do not fry in oil naked. Don't do it. Don't do it.
You'll get hurt.
I still start doing it anyway, even though I know. I got to get burned at least once before I'm like, all right, I have an apron for this moment, right? Everything else, no consequences, really. Like, and there shouldn't be, right? So, bacon frying also. Well, you know what? I do bacon in the oven because I set my alarms off if I do it otherwise. So, non-messy bacon hack, do it in the oven. It's very good.
My mom does it in the oven too. Yeah,
it's good. You have more control over the elements, you know? Speaking of like nudist stuff, like, I am super excited at the idea of, like, right before Corona, I had planned all of these field trips for my, I have like a nude yoga group from like several different areas, because I was teaching in Rockville, Baltimore, Philly, and New York City. So I was like, everybody, let's go to the nude beach in New Jersey, and we'll do like a nude yoga day where we just like hang out and picnic and like stretch and be like chill. And I really hope that like it is safe to do that again soon, because I so miss that experience of just like being in space nude with other beings, which I'm excited about our conversation because it'll be close to that.
We get to see nude art and see what everyone's like, what the process of how they made it and like what was going. I just love like having the artists talk about their art like at the art share.
And I'm excited about the context too, because it's like nude work, but we're finally getting that context around like, is it sexual? Was it when you did it? Is it now? Has that changed? How do you want it to be interpreted? Like, because there might be symbolism that they don't want to be accessible to the viewer or the audience, like some things that are private. Oh my God, Doug's going to share the photos I took of him. Lit. I'm excited. Those are so good.
What?
I still love them.
Oh, I guess I'm behind on the little chat box.
Doug said he's going to share the photos that we had done together from Conscious Creativity. So
awesome.
Oh my gosh, Dojo Turnball says, I brought my son to a co-ed nude sweat lodge for his 16th birthday. Blessing.
Amazing.
Like, you are the parents this generation needs. I love it. Oh, yeah. You know what? My friend V and I tried to do a Hulu watch party the other day, and she's trying to show me this show called Pen 15, which is like, supposed
oh my gosh, that show is so funny.
Theory. Right? And there's a quote. I forget what they were talking about, but it was like something like, she's like yelling at a teacher, like, why would you let, the teacher's like, where did you get this information? And she's like, well, I got it from another student because you didn't give me the information. So where else was I going to get it? From the most unreliable source possible, who doesn't know how to withhold the right details. Like, if you had been the one to deliver it, maybe it wouldn't have been a problem. But instead, you made me go dig for it. And the result is there was some deciphering that had to happen, right? Like, and that's so the truth when it comes to like consent education, bodily autonomy education, like literally all of it. Just give people the information. Like, what? I feel like, there's new yoga classes every Tuesday. They're not in person right now. They're online. But even if you come only one time, you get on the mailing list. And then when I do them in person, if you're on the East Coast, you can come. Please come. But Bunny's also hosting nude events on their website as well.
Yeah, so virtual nude gatherings.
Yeah, they're just like games, and they're super fun. I went to the last one. Me and Doug were both there. It was super cool. Awesome. We did a consent game, which was like really neat and actually totally on brand for what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, next one's in April. And the link in my bio is all information.
Yeah, we're making, whether it's with Going Beyond the Lens or individually, we're all about it. We love being naked. We really want to connect with y'all, and we're really excited to see the stuff that you make. So please submit your art.
Yes, we've got some really cool submissions already.
Do we really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Marcus sent a drawing.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I've gotten several images already, so I'm hoping that we get more like other mediums also, because we've gotten several photographs and we have a drawing. So like, where's like the poets and the sculptors and the
let's do it.
All of it. Show us.
That's so good. I mean, I would also, like, we haven't seen any, like, dance yet. I personally would like to request some music or dance. Like, what does it sound like to be naked?
Oh, cool.
I don't know. Do you know?
I'm willing to learn this. Yeah, let's...
Marcus, you can submit literally as many things as can fit on one slide. So every artist gets one slide's worth. And then if you wanted to submit more, you could. It's just that it would be in the aftercare mailer. So that's true for anybody. Like, if you submit your work and it doesn't end up being featured within the conversation, we only have time for 10. If you decide to come after the art share to the community conversation that's separate, you could discuss further on it. But otherwise, it will go home in the mailer, which is the email that goes out to everybody, with your links. So people could always follow up with you, or you could make a post about it for, to build like more context. Like, we want these conversations to overflow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They don't have to stay just for the events. We want them to like be everywhere.
These are things that everybody should be talking about, right? Like the idea of, do you know how compulsory sexuality is? Do you know it's okay if you don't ever want to be sexualized or ever want to have sex? Or if nothing's sexy to you and everything is, like all of these things are an option.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're excited to hear what you think and see what you made. Please come. The links are in all of our profiles. We love you a lot.
Yeah. This Saturday, the 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern is the art share. Come see all the art.
It's
next weekend is the conversation.
They're always at 1. One's on a Saturday, one's on a Sunday, so we have options for you. 3rd and 4th week of every month. Weekend. I don't know why.
Yeah.
My weekends, yes.
Yay.
Thank you so much for chatting with me, Bunny. It's always a pleasure. This was so rich. I feel like we could talk for another 8 hours, but we'll have to see.
I know, like we barely scratched the surface of all the things we could talk about. So
Totally. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
See y'all there.